Skuntank looking to vamp up its attack, firing off the Trailblaze. Trailblaze goes unshielded. This now puts Jellicent into a range where I can get the resisted Poison Jab farm down. We're going to shield up the Surf, get the full Poison Jab farm down. Then if Pidgeot does return, we're going to outpace to the back-to-back charge moves back out. Comes Pidgeot, and this crunch going to do huge damage. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am super hyped as Ultra League is here and we have some new toys to play with. I've been using a fighter with double dark poison in the back all the way back since season 9. The team's evolved numerous times since then. Originally it was a Mudshot Poliwrath with Drapion and Skuntank running with flamethrower. Last season I did invest in a Shadow Hitmontop powered up all the way to level 50. I did run that on Close Combat and Stone Edge. This season will act as the Triple Axel. So Stone Edge is going to be replaced with Triple Axel. And today we're going to be taking a look at Trailblaze, Shadow Skuntank. I'm going to keep the intro short and sweet. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we're not off to the best start. We see the instant pivot into Drapion and the opponent now answers with PV Poke's number 2 ranked pick, Steelix. This Steelix actually isn't fully excelled, although it has got a very cool, shiny little gold colour to it. However, undeterred, Drapion about to show Steelix what Drapion can do best. We farm up, throw crunch, number 2, we've already lowered their defense once. Drapion lowers Steelix defense for the second time. The opponent only at 2,375 CP, so if the opponent doesn't respect this, we will take back switch. The opponent gives up switch and we can now realign. However, Drapion still not done, forces some energy off Charizard. The opponent now 5 away from a potential blast when I send in Skuntank. The opponent throws 5, which they do. I'm going to respect it. The opponent, like an absolute savage, masturbate me with the Dragon Claw and then send out Greninja. However, stay in school, kids. Learn to count. We catch the Hydro Cannon back onto Hitmontop. Hitmontop now just needs to get off as much counter damage as physically possible. The opponent going to be forced to throw another charge move. We can send back out Skuntank. Skuntank going to get the full Poison Jab farm down. The opponent still with 2 Protect Shields, 2 hide behind, and it's time to be a pest and spam out some Trailblazes. The first one forces the first Protect Shield. This is a double resisted move. The opponent can call this if they want. I was kidding, Mr. Opponent. If you don't shield, we're just going to Poison Jab farm down and take that game. GG's and thanks for playing. Oof, another rough lead. We see their pivot into Drapion. I'm going to throw 6 Poison Stings. So I'm throwing this 1 turn before the opponent reaches a potential Brave Bird. However, Pidgeot users love to masturbate. And we don't shield baits in this household. Holy crap, I almost get 1 shot. We're not looking promising. The opponent has now lowered their own defense by 2 stages. So I'm going to send back out Hitmontop. The opponent now pivot out into Jellicent. I'm desperately waiting for my switch timer to pop up. However, no such luck. The opponent at a potential Shadow Ball and Hitmontop tanks it like an absolute boss. I then pivot into Skuntank and it's time for Skuntank to absolutely start ramping up. We tank the first Surf. I'm now 3 Poison Jabs away from the Trailblaze. However, I don't opt to throw it because that would be alignment. I don't want to give the opponent a full 3 Hex. So instead, I shield the next Surf, throw 1 Poison Jab for optimal fast move timing and fire off the Trailblaze. Trailblaze gets Jellicent low and they're now in a range where we can shield the next Surf, get the resisted Poison Jab farm down. And then if Pidgeot does return, we're going to be able to outpace him to the back-to-back crunches. Back out comes Pidgeot. Skuntank fires off the vamped up crunch, gets the defense shot. We get the Poison Jab farm down. The opponent's final Pokemon is Virizion. I look to throw 1 Poison Jab and the crunch, but for some reason we end up throwing 2. However, this game's just over. The opponent's going to be forced to throw. Sacred Sword takes us out. Out comes Hitmontop. We throw 1 counter and the Trailblaze. We're at the back-to-back. The first one draws the final Protect Shield and the second one is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we lead Shadow Hitmontop into Pidgeot. Are you serious again? We're going to pivot into Drapion, throw 6 Poison Stings and the crunch. This is 1 turn before the potential Brave Bird. Have I learnt my lesson and am I going to respect the damage? Of course I'm not. Come on, opponent, I dare you to Brave Bird me. This opponent goes for a little cheeky masturbating session and now we are sitting in the driver's seat. The ever-reliable, super spammy Drapion fires off crunch, number 2, getting Pidgeot below half health, and we get the defense drop. The opponent throw yet another Feather Dance. We survive. The opponent look to snipe with Virizion. We're going to fire off the Sludge Bomb. The opponent doesn't manage to snipe us. I see my switch timer pop up. I'm going to save that 1 HP Drapion as a potential sack swap. Hitmontop tanks the first Leaf Blade. I am worried the opponent might have Cobalion in the back, as Pidgeot Double Swords of Justice is a pretty common line, so I do respect the second. I then throw one counter and the triple Axel. Triple Axel not only knocks this thing out, it actually vamps up our attack. Unfortunately, my team call is not correct as I've actually got Jellicent in the back. We're not out of the woods yet. This close combat is double resisted, but it is boosted. And the counters and the double resisted move have almost done half of Jellicent's HP. That chip damage is going to be so valuable as this Jellicent is absolutely loaded and now in one move range. The opponent aggressively send back out Pidgeot. I can shield up whatever they throw. If they bait me, I couldn't give a fuck. I'm going to shield regardless. The opponent full YOLO the bird. We get the poison jab farm down back out. Comes Jellicent, we throw one poison jab and the crunch. This will be forcing the final protect shield. The opponent needs to start throwing energies. They're already at 100. They throw the first serve. I'm going to throw one poison jab. Looks to catch the second on our 1 HP Drapion. And that is going to seal the opponent's fate. We send back out Skuntank. We're only one poison jab away from the next crunch. And we manage to clutch up a very close game. GG's to that opponent. Yet another dreadful lead. I think it's actually quite funny, to be honest. I was hoping to see stuff like Registeel and Steelix in the lead. I definitely am not seeing them, but I am seeing things that counter them steel types. The irony. Again, we say switch into Drapion. We land the crunch. We're going to dare the opponent to blast burn us. The opponent go for a cheeky masturbating session. And while we're on that subject, everyone please stop masturbating. Think of the poor defenseless cats. Drapion will actually survive one more Dragon Claw. The IVs of my Drapion are 15, 15, 15. So if you've got an optimal PvP IV Drapion, you'd actually make a further crunch. However, I powered up the hundo because I'm a cheapskate and I don't grind all that hard anymore. It is what it is. The opponent now just settle for yet another Dragon Claw, an easy tank for Hitmontop. Hitmontop gets the counter farm down and I'm spamming out into Skuntank. The opponent send out Tapu Fini. They've got Virizion in the back and Skuntank now smelling blood. As I have two protections, I'm going to shield up the Sacred Sword and this is where you're going to see the power of Trailblaze. My god. Being able to have a 100% chance to vamp up these oppressive poison jab damage is so much fun. We're going to tank the next Sacred Sword. We're going to look for the poison jab farm down. Unfortunately, the opponent does make one further move. However, Skuntank can shield this up and the boosted Trailblaze is going to do huge damage to Tapu Fini. Does it one shot? No, it doesn't. But then for no reason whatsoever, stay in school, kids, and learn to count. We're going to catch back onto Hitmontop and put the stamp of authority on the battle, because why not? GG's and thanks for playing. Finally, my fortunes have changed. We pick up a great lead. Shadow on Shadow Crime, but we're definitely in the driver's seat. The opponent send out Dragon Breath Giratina. Due to both my dark types using poison quick moves, Giratina pretty neutral in these matchups, so I force a protect shield with the triple Axel and then send out the spammier Drapion. The opponent fires off the ancient power, praying to the RNG gods, fishing for a boost. The gods say, not today, trainer. We fire off the first crunch. Drapion so spammy, able to outpace the crunch. Number 2. This should knock out, but the opponent actually double shields, desperate to realign. However, that is not happening. I've actually got 2 answers with Snorlax. However, I haven't really got a great way of getting rid of Giratina, so I do invest a protect shield just to get rid of it, as both my counter and poison jab would be resisted. As I've got 2 answers, I'm not going to give the opponent any free farm. I pivot into Skuntank. The opponent's final Pokemon is Charizard. We're going straight for the crunch. Crunch going to land for huge damage. The opponent at a potential blast burn. The opponent can throw literally whatever they want. The opponent nuked me with a blast burn. However, that just allows Hitmontop to come in, get the resisted, counter farm down. We leave with the close combat. It's going to be high Snorlax, bye Snorlax, get fucking wrecked. Skuntank so far having all the fun, so Hitmontop said it was my time to shine. In the next battle, we see the battle of the fighters. The opponent goes straight for a power-up punch, looking to vamp up their attack. I'm going straight for the close combat, hoping the opponent looks to call the bait. I full send the close combat. The opponent near get one shot. I look to snipe with Skuntank. The opponent make another power-up punch. However, power-up punch, not a particularly good move. Skuntank gets the poison jab farm down and the opponent send out a Alolan Muck. Both my charge moves will be resisted, so obviously we're going to opt to throw the Trailblaze. I'll be honest, I'm addicted to the Trailblaze. We're just going to vamp up our oppressive poison jab damage. Not only do we boost up our quick move damage, it now means this crunch is going to do even more damage. Crunch gets mucked down deep into the red. The opponent hasn't got enough residual energy to make a charge move against our Hitmontop. We get the counter farm down. The opponent's final Pokemon is Gengar. We're going to fire off the Trailblaze. Gengar shield absolutely everything and then pivot out into Drapion. The opponent at this stage has got more chance of winning the lottery than Gengar beating Drapion down a shield. I invest the Protect Shield. As we fired off on the CMP tie, Shadow Ball does a lot because Gengar's got about a 1 bazillion attack stat. The opponent doesn't farm up to a potential Focus Blast. The opponent actually has Sludge Bomb as a second move, and you can see even resisted Gengar hits like a truck. We make the next crunch and secure the dub. And that actually rounded off a very nice 5-0 set. Moving on to the next battle. We'll lead Hitmontop into Drapion, another man of culture. However, I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of that horrible white aura you've got around your Drapion, but stay in school, kids. Learn to count. We look to catch the Sludge Bomb back onto our own Drapion. The opponent answered Drapion safeswitch with a Shadow Machamp. They throw the Cross Chop on a CMP tie. Cross Chop does around 33-34%, so again, if I had optimal PvP IVs, we would survive. However, my Hundo gets vanquished back to our Pokeball. I send out Hitmontop, anticipating the opponent definitely not shielding, so I'm going to YOLO the close combat. To my surprise, the opponent actually chooses the shield, and now we're in somewhat of a tricky spot. It looks like the opponent's looking to 2-shield and counter farm all the way down, so we actually just choose to pivot back out into Skuntank. The opponent has so much energy, we call the Cross Chop, but my god, again, my Skuntank's got pretty garbage IVs. I'll actually post the IVs of all my Pokemon in the pinned comments for those of you wondering. The opponent saved their Machamp on 1 HP and a Dream and send back out Drapion. I fire off the crunch as it is cheaper than Trailblaze and will hit harder. I'm going to be forced to shield this up, as if I don't shield up the crunch I'm going to have hardly any HP, and Skuntank is pretty much my only remaining healthy Pokemon. I fire off the next crunch, securing the knockout. They can't return Machamp. They're forced to send out Ampharos. I'm going to look to catch the charge move onto my Hitmontop. However, I think it's too little too late. Brutal Swing does secure the knockout. I throw 1 Poison Jab and the crunch, but is crunch going to be enough to knock out? No, it's not, and the opponent's going to take the dub. GG's to them. Normal service has resumed with an absolutely terrible lead. The opponent safe switches into Cobalion. So like I said in the intro, I've run this team all the way since Season 9. So around that time, Cobalion didn't have access to double kick, so Drapion was such a good safe switch. I'll be honest, how this team functions, when you're on an ABB team, you're looking to draw out something like a Cobalion, because then it frees up Skuntank in the endgame to sweep the back line. The best case scenario is obviously if they don't have a Cobalion and Drapion can force some shields in the mid game or even allow us the chance to realign. However, this isn't always the worst spot. We can now send in Hitmontop. We're going to get a huge counter farm down. The opponent aggressively give up switch, and we're going to straight away answer with Skuntank. The opponent goes straight for an aerial ace. We are going to tank the first. The Shadow Claws are resisted, however I do need to start shielding. The opponent recognising that I've got 2 shields aren't even baiting a potential liquidation, they're just spamming out straight aerial ass. We fire off the Trailblaze, vamping up our attack. I'm going to shield this next move. I really hope that 5 Poison Jabs knock this thing out. Come on Skuntank, get there, get there. What a beautiful farm down. The opponent's got a Sacred Sword banked. Switch timer pops up. I'm going to look to catch. I'm looking top right. If Cobalion comes in, which it does, we're going to catch a Sacred Sword back onto Hitmontop. In the process, banking all of that energy, the opponent's final Pokemon is Ampharos. We throw 1 counter and the triple Axel, forcing the final Protect Shield. The opponent then farm up, throw the Brutal Swing or Thunder Punch on the CMP tie. The opponent throws the Brutal Swing, which does secure the knockout. Back out comes Skuntank, looking for redemption. The last Ampharos wasn't taken out. This one also survives, but the opponent doesn't get the move off. I imagine the opponent's second move is Trailblaze, so if they threw a Brutal Swing, we would have survived anyway, and Skuntank takes the dub. Yikes, another Charizard lead. Come on, algorithm, give me a break. We pivot out into Drapion, and the opponent answers with Dragonite, a very interesting double flying strategy. Drapion lands the first crunch. The opponent fires off the Dragon Claw. Drapion will survive. Unlike the Cobalion matchup we saw last time, Drapion will actually be able to force a shield here in the mid game. The opponent very likely to want to maintain alignments. The opponent does give me that shield, and then commit to the full Dragon Breath farm down. We're going to send out Hitmontop, use it as the damage sponge. The opponent should reach the Dragon Claw before they go down. The opponent commits to the super power. They don't get there. We then pivot out into Skuntank. Skuntank again looking primed to sweep. I've still got 2 Protect Shields remaining. We're going to tank the first Sacred Sword, and then I really need to start shielding. I'm going to throw 4 Poison Jabs and the Trailblaze for optimal fast move timing. 2 turn versus 3 turn. You always want to throw at 1, 4 or 7. The opponent does reach 1 final charge where we shield up the Sacred Sword, commit to the full Poison Jab farm down. I think it's really risky to go for a Trailblaze here, so I do fire off the Crunch. The opponent actually invests that Protect Shield. The opponent looking for the full Wing Attack farm down. They get a huge farm down, and it's now the bait game. As always, opponent, throw the nuke. You shall win. If you throw the bait, you'd be very sad. The opponent makes the correct decision, and they take the dub. A very valuable lesson learned. So many people say you need to bait to win a game. That is absolutely incorrect. You need to land the nuke to win a game. The opponent full sent it, and they picked up the dub. Well played. In the next battle, we saw Hitmontop into Cresselia. Absolutely dreadful. We pivot into Drapion, drawing out Swampert. The opponent gave me a huge energy lead to Drapion, able to force a shield in the mid game. If the opponent looked to farm down, I'll make one further Crunch. The opponent smartly opt to throw energy Hydro Cannon, secures the knockout. As we got the defense drop, I'm going to be able to come in to Hitmontop. We'll tank the Hydro Cannon. They won't reach another, so we're going to be able to counter farm all the way down and save a 2 shield advantage for Skunk. Hitmontop gets the counter farm down. We've got a move bank. We pivot out into Skuntank, drawing out Giratina Origin. This thing was an absolute menace in the end of season Fantasy Cup last time. However, in the Open Ultra League, it's not as dominant as it was there. We land the Crunch. The opponent has only thrown 7 Shadow Claws. This can only be a Shadow Ball. It's an easy tank. We look for the resisted Poison Jab farm down, and we get it back out. Comes Cresselia. I thought about going for the Trailblaze. However, the safer play would be to throw the Crunch. The opponent looked to call the Trailblaze. Crunch gets them down deep into the yellow. I'll be honest, I've got no idea why the opponent is continuing to stay in. This time around, we are going to throw the Trailblaze. Trailblaze forces the final Protect Shield. I could easily shield this move up. However, Skuntank has put on an absolute clinic. It's time to let your buddy Hitmontop close the show. I send out Hitmontop. I've still got 1 Protect Shield remaining. I was looking to go for the resisted counter farm down. However, I don't think I can actually get it. So we'll settle for the BM close combat to their face. GG's and thanks for playing. And that is going to draw to a close the Shadow Hitmontop Double Dark Poison. Shadow Hitmontop with access to Triple Axel now I think is pretty good. Last season, I'll be honest, it was so hard to use as close combat was your cheapest move, and obviously that lowered your own defense. However, this season we've got Triple Axel, which has actually got a 100% chance to boost your own attack. Ice, pretty good offensive type, and it's great for stuff like Giratina, Pidgeot, etc. However, I think the star of the show is Shadow Skuntank. My god, Shadow Skuntank with access to Trailblaze was an absolute menace, so I'd highly recommend building one. It's actually almost 3 AM for me now here in the UK, so if you appreciate me getting this content out early to you, leave a like. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.